Hello everyone, I hope you saw our first video for the Azure, AWS and OCI comparison. This is the second part of the series where we go into service mapping. So please like, subscribe, share the channel. So this provides the comparison of the different services within Azure AWS article. So let's get into the first one, which is the multi-tenant VM setup. So multi-tenant VMs, they allow multiple customers to share the same physical hardware while maintaining logical isolation. AWS, you have the option of Amazon EC2 that provides scalable virtual servers with various instances and types for diverse workloads. In Azure, you have Azure VMs that offer customizable VMs that integrate seamlessly with different Azure services. Likewise, in OCI virtual machine instances provide cost-effective compute with flexible configurations. So let's go to the portal and see each one in action. Okay, so I'm here in the portal and I'll get to the EC2 setup. Over here, what I could do is, this is the GUI for this creating the EC2. And you could come here, you could create the instance, give it a name, and this is where you give the family, you choose the different recent, you could choose from the AMI, and you could choose the architecture that you want, you choose the instance size, the key pair security, the VM, and we provide all this information. It's a very straightforward setup, self-guided. Go ahead, do it. I want you to, you will have your VM in your required region and setup. So let's go to Azure now. In Azure, what you do is you go to VM, it's going to be this one over here, and I'll skip this one. You go to VM, click create a VM, you choose this one. You provide the different options that are there, the subscription, the resource group, the name of the VM, the easy, and the image, and every other thing. Similar to AWS, not much of a difference. Provide the setting, and you could have the disk, the storage that you want, the networking, which VNet you want it set up, the management, and all these other configurations, the monitoring, alerting that you would want. And after that, you could have the VM ready. Likewise, in Oracle, what you do is you go to Oracle. You could come here, you could go to compute, you could go to instances, you could go to the search and do it. Either way works. They have both the options. You come here, create an instance, give a name, choose the compartment. Compartment, as I said in the first video, it's a resource group, a logical layer. So choose that. Provide the right shape. Shape is nothing but, again, it's the size of the VM that you want, which is what they call is the CPU configuration, the OS that you want, and the other information that you could go about creating. And once you do this, you will have your VM setup. So it's kind of pretty straightforward in all three clouds. So let's go to the next one as part of the setup, which is going to be single tenant virtual machines. So single tenant virtual machines, they offer dedicated physical servers for improved isolation and performance. For AWS, it is EC2 dedicated instances that provide isolated hardware for specific accounts. Azure, it's a dedicated host that offers physical servers for deploying multiple VMs. And OCI, it is dedicated VM hosts that enable customers to run VMs on dedicated hardware. So let's go to the portal and check each one out. Okay, so first in AWS, same portal, same GUI, but what you do is you come here, in instance setting, you click on advanced details, and there would be an option of tenancy. So there you go. So you have the option, you see this is the option on run a dedicated instance, right? So dedicated host is what I mean. And this is what it'll allow you to run on for specific isolated hardware for specific accounts. And now this is where you could have this setting. So now let's go to Azure and create the dedicated host. So in Azure, what you do is you search over here, dedicated host, and the hosts. So this is where you could create a Azure dedicated host that provides physical servers isolated for your organization, more likely for like specific scenarios that you could use. But you could come here, a similar thing, but a different GUI, like a different layout, like AWS, where they have given a drop down, and you can have it set up from as part of this setting. It's a self-like easy to follow through GUI. But drop in a comment if any other details are required for it. For OCI, likewise for OCI, I come here, and if I choose here, compute, and this is where you see I get the dedicated VM hosts option as well, compared like a separate link altogether. You choose the create VM, you follow these options, you provide the compartment, then the ED, and you provide all these options and provide the file domain and other information. You create, and you should be good to go. Which is the bare metal hosts. So bare metal instances, they provide direct access to physical servers. That makes them ideal for high performance or specialized workloads. For AWS, it is like EC2 bare metal instances allow customers to run workloads requiring full hardware control. Azure bare metal infrastructure is designed for large-scale workloads like SAP HANA, OCI bare metal instances offer powerful compute with no virtualization overhead. So let's go to each one and check them out. So in AWS, over here, what you do is you come to this GUI, but this is going to be the instance family that you select. It's going to be dependent on this setup. Now over here, you see the family of metal. You see this is the bare metal configuration that you could choose. And you have these options, and based on this, you could get the bare metal setup here based on the instance family that you will be selecting. So for Azure, what you do is you come here and you search for bare metal infrastructure. There you go. And this is where you could kind of need to have set up, but you will have to have this, reach out to the support and then get this set up as part of the Azure setup here. So for OCI, let's go to the compute here and choose instances. Click create instance for how you go about bare metal. And this is where, let me choose a shade disk or mirror. But if you have this here, there you go. You see, you have a bare metal machine. You choose this, and BM stands for bare metal, and you will get all these options that provide where you could deploy your workload on a bare metal machine. So this is how you could go about doing in all three clouds. So now let's go to the next service, which is the Kubernetes service. What is this Kubernetes? Kubernetes, I believe everybody who is working on cloud or is in the technology industry would have heard of Kubernetes, which is a subject or total different subject altogether. But what they do is they simplify the deployment and management of containerized applications, more pertaining to the microservices architecture. In the AWS, there is AWS managed service called EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service, and there's ECR for registry container, which is for cluster management and container storage. For Azure, it is EKS and ECR for integrated container orchestration. And OCI it is, Article Container Engine, for Kubernetes, and OCI Registry for managing Kubernetes and container images. So let's hop onto the portal and check them out. Okay, so here in the portal, we are here in AWS, kind of straightforward. You type in, you come in EKS, you search EKS, you create a cluster, two options, quick configuration, custom configuration. Quick one is going to be just spin up the clusters. You'll get the latest version of Kubernetes out there. The different roles, the cluster role, the node-IAM rules, the VPC setting, the different subnets. You could check these configurations out and create the cluster, and voila, your cluster is going to be created. How do we do it in Azure? Oh, I missed the ECR part. So I come here, ECR, this is the container registry, and I have one container registry created. You could kind of push their images in here. You could have the policy, the permissions and all set up as part of the registry. So pretty simple setup that the containers, the EKS could set it up. You see over here, there's another option, ECS. This is AWS proprietary, similar to EKS version that you can also use if you intend to solely be on the AWS platform. If you want to be cloud agnostic, go with Kubernetes. How do we do it in Azure? In Azure, it's going to be simple as well. Each cloud provider has their own flavor of Kubernetes. In Azure, it is AKS. You go here and you choose create. You could have this option here, which is Kubernetes cluster, and it's a self guided process. It's a wizard that you could use. Provide these different options out here and go about spinning up your cluster. Likewise for registry, they have container registry. Yeah, so there you go. There's a container registry here, and you could, with a container registry, you push your images, set up the policies, the same way you could go about doing it. Okay, how do you do it in Oracle? In Oracle, you would, again, navigate over here to OCI and then search for Kubernetes. There you go. So you have Kubernetes, OKE. You create a cluster, both options, quick create, custom create, quick, and then you submit. It'll spin up everything for you. Like a click of a button. For registry, you have the come here, same thing, create a registry, write the right setup. You could create a registry, give it a name, public, private compartment, and it'll spin it up for you. Pretty straightforward in all three clouds. So let's go to the last one, which is functions. So serverless, it's like kind of become very popular. And it enables event-driven architecture without provisioning need of managing servers, and functions is the key part in serverless because you don't need to have any VM, you don't need to manage any VM, you just kind of pay for what you use. So you could also have a provisioned setup done where you won't have the delays or any other issues in startup. So that is where you could have functions. For AWS, you have Lambda. It allows execution of functions in response to events. Azure, it is for the same Azure functions. They provide a scalable serverless compute. And OCI as well, you have functions. So let's go into each one and check it out. Okay, so here in AWS, you see we use a lot of Lambdas, which is functions, nothing else. You come here, you click this link, click create the function. You have these options. You can author from scratch. You will get the code. You could do it. You could use a blueprint, something we have never felt the need to do it, or you could use an image that you could kind of deploy as part of your function setup. If you can author from scratch, give the name, and this is, like you see, that you have the latest version of Python 3.13, something you don't see in the other cloud providers. AWS seems to be at the top of providing the latest versions out there, and the other cloud providers, they follow suit. But you have these options. You choose the function, you choose the in architecture you want to go with, you choose the role that you want to set up. Additional configurations, you could choose VPC, as well as you want to write any tags, and definitely do have tags. It'll make it easy for the resource group. And at this search settings, let's go to Azure. Azure is going to be no different. Just type in here, type in function app, like you create a function app. And one of the differences between Azure and AWS is they have these different tiers, where you have in Azure, you have these different tiers, and each, like if you go with premium, you will be getting the private endpoint setup, the VNet integration, which is there. You will, like if I show you here, you will be getting this option here. And if I go to networking, I can have this. I could do it off, and then I could have the setting, and this is where I will have to choose it out here. And I will be able to see that in AWS, they don't really charge that way. So in a sense, AWS is a little bit of economical, in my opinion, compared to Azure. And also what in Azure they have is once you create the function app, in this you will be creating the different functions based on the tier that you choose. So again, a different way of seeing things compared to AWS and Oracle. But nonetheless, the functionality is there. You could do the same things. And one other thing that I just wanted to mention is, like you see, the Python comparison I was mentioning, they are still on 3.11 version, while AWS, you see, they already are on 3.13. So two minor versions behind. But nonetheless, it's kind of something to keep an eye out on. And now let's go to Oracle, where you go in here, you type in function. You create an application, you give it a name, you give it the compartment, or you VCN, which is Virtual Cloud Network, choose the subnets, and provide all the information, and you could have the function, and set it up, and done. For few pre-built functions, you could always use this option. You see they have already given for you, like say, from the blueprint that AWS has. And Oracle and AWS, they seem a lot more similar, but something like you could always use this one. You could choose this setting here and use it to create a function out here. So I hope this comparison provides you a good understanding of the different service mapping between all three cloud providers. We'll get to that third one, but before that, please subscribe, share our channel, subscribe to our newsletter. We have launched Cloud My Site, which is 100% cloud hosting, web development platform, not just web development. You could purchase domains on it and do WordPress infrastructure setup. The cost is very economical, and in fact, it's just because it's an initial launch. That is why we are offering this discount will not be lasting. So please make aware of this offer, and instead of having a shared hosting, you could have your own virtual private server with 100% stability of cloud and infrastructure. With that, see you in part 3. Thank you. Have a good day.